Thank you guys so much for coming. This is amazing. Y'all are the most punctual Now audience. Is this a good volume? Can you guys hear stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Y'all get enough energy drink?
Yeah.
Nima will be continuing to serve energy drinks in the back. So if you guys don't feel adequately caffeinated for this lecture, I very much so encourage you to get caffeinated. Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you, first of all, to Keith and Printed Matter for having us here. And yeah. And to Camilla and Will for co-publishing the book. It did such a beautiful, beautiful job. Thank you guys. And Nimai for helping to make this energy drink that we've had a fantasy about for a very long time finally a reality. So thank you. I like this. Thank you guys. All right, cool. Guess I'll start. Men's curiosity searches past and future and clings to that dimension. But to apprehend the point of intersection of the timeless with time is an occupation for the saint. No occupation either, but something given and taken in a lifetime's death in love, ardor, selflessness, and self-surrender. For most of us, there is only the unattended moment, the moment in and out of time, the distraction fit, lost in a shaft of sunlight, the wild time unseen, or the winter lightning, or the waterfall, or music heard so deeply that it is not heard at all, but you are the music, while the music lasts. These are only hints and guesses. Hints followed by guesses. The rest is prayer, observance, discipline, thought, and action. T.S. Eliot. Prologue. Flatness. In the Dark Ages, the world was widely believed to be flat. It was an age where death lived in closer proximity than it is now. Disease was rampant. Travel was more hazardous. And people in general lived more dangerous lives, usually dying very young. Nature had not yet been dominated by the iron fist of industry, and humans were much more vulnerable to the forces of nature, which by necessity forced them to forge a relationship of reverence and respect. Myths and legends made heroes of humans who were in touch with the beasts of the wild, the supernatural, and the conquest of the self. Although it was referred to as the Dark Ages, beneath the shadows lay a romantic age of alchemy, magic, and intuitive primacy untainted by rationality. However, the arguably light aspects of the Dark Ages were at odds with the rigidity of organized religion, as the medieval era also marked the high reign of Christianity, which hunted down the forces of chaos and magic and kept them captive. Thus, while lack of technology brought about a flattening of the physical world, the Church brought about a flattening of the spirit world, as the unicorn tapestry above shows the mythical beast held captive in a two-dimensional simulation of heavenly paradise. The Renaissance introduced perspective for the first time in art history, and as technology advanced, a new horizon line was created. Whoever controls the horizon controls the perspective. Now, a new horizon is created. Some say we are entering into a new technological renaissance era called the Information Age. However, as we hurl ourselves full throttle across the horizonless, brightly lit LED landscape, we realize in vain that our selfie will never cast a shadow. In our scramble to iron out all that is mysterious or potentially dangerous, we are at the threshold of blindly rendering our world flat once again, ushering in a digital dark age far darker than anything Brian Eno could have envisioned. The flattening of space. The flattening of time. The flattening of danger. The flattening of emotion. Postmodernism and the flattening of the world. Contrary to popular belief, postmodernism is not dead. It is undead. Post is a Latin prefix referring to something that came after. Now, it is a form of aesthetics that occurs continuously, a post-Nietzschean eternal recurrence based on what people post. Postmodernism is a cannibalistic form of aesthetics whose image eats its own meaning, its own flesh, its own weight, every time it is posted, rendering everything flat and emotionally void. This is a flattening of the world, the recapitulating it unto itself, rendering it dull and void of meaning, stripping it of danger, of mystery, of death. Perhaps we develop technology in our own image as a means to cheat death and live forever. As we become deeper engrossed in our digital meta-realities, slowly we develop a fear and a mistrust of the physical world, and with that, a fear of death. Here, a Facebook page of a friend lives on, even long after he has passed away. It is death that gives this earth dimension, and only through embracing death can we ever hope to achieve true immortality. Thus, those who willingly throw themselves in constant touch with death's grips are to be worshipped and venerated as our new saviors, our new prophets, who will guide us out of these digital dark ages and into the dawn of a new era. Ancient lineage of Xtreme sports. The language of Xtreme sports is written through the lens of ancestral symbolism of ancient mysticism. Here, we see the seal of the Knights Templar, a medieval Gnostic secret society, versus the independent skate company logo. Wings, the symbol of the Greek goddess Nike, and its minimalistic abstraction of the Nike logo. The Red Bull logo is especially interesting in that it combines a few different ancient Illuminati symbols. First, the symbolism of the Celtic sun on the cross, and also the bulls, which symbolize the ancient pagan symbolism of Roman Mithraic bull worshipping fertility rites. And of course, Monster Energy. The M of the logo is comprised of Hebrew numerals Vav, 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 or 666, which is also associated with the ancient Hermetic deity of Baphomet, also a fertility symbol, and half man and half beast. As with any other prophets or saviors, Xtreme sports athletes are merely tapped into a divine creative energy source and are not to be mistaken for the source themselves. Thus, through their model and their actions, they reveal to us a new paradigm to go about approaching art, music, and metaphysics based on a practice of throwing oneself headfirst into the oblivion, into the jaws of the sublime unknown. It is not a practice based on thought, like the Enlightenment, or emotion, like the Romantic era, but instead, feeling. Feeling is not to be confused with emotion, for whereas emotion can blind your senses and myopically cloud your mind from focusing on the present moment, feeling is more about a pure and untainted experience of the present moment, creating a harmony between our inner and outer worlds. Through feeling, fearlessness, and spiritual symbolism, extreme sports athletes shall usher in a new aesthetic era based on the embrace of speed, awareness, time travel, and death. We call this era Xtreme Now. Xtreme Now, for lack of better words, is a phrase used to describe various experiences out of time, aesthetic experiences of extreme mental and physical focus and clarity, unexplainable experiences, supernatural experiences, out-of-body experiences, even near-death experiences. Any experience that puts you into an intensely extreme state of awareness can be classified as an Xtreme Now experience. Xtreme Now is a resurrection of symbolism through the diamond portal of now, appealing to the aesthetic language of feeling and arresting critical faculty by means of music. Music comes in and fills the emotional void left by the wreckage of conceptualism and the alienation of postmodernism. Xtreme Now exists everywhere and nowhere. Xtreme Now is simultaneously apocalypse and post-apocalypse. The skate ramp against Heaven's Gate. The dance party on the other side of Eden. In this sense, it always has been and always will be, especially on a microcosmic level. Our collective consciousness, however, after undergoing centuries of flattening, has developed now amnesia. And this is all about to change. Hypraxis, a new system of kinetic aesthetics. Xtreme Now creates an invisible form of architecture outside of space and time that superimposes itself onto visible architecture, operating on the laws of hypraxis. Hypraxis comes from a fusion of the terms hyparxis and praxis, and is at the spiritual core of Xtreme Now. Hyparxis. Somewhere between time and eternity lies a dimension called hyparxis. It is what T.S. Eliot eloquently hints at as the point of intersection of the timeless with time, or what John G. Bennett defines as an ableness to be on his writings on the subject. It does not indicate a change in actual time or a manifestation of eternity. Instead, it refers to transformations in inner Hyparxis combines what is actual with what is potential, creating a present moment based on the internalized experience of external temporal events, past, present, or future. Praxis is the alchemical process of transforming thought into action, a means of engaging, tasting, applying, practicing, exercising, and exorcising ideas, the galvanized experience of actively engaging with the unseen. Hypraxis is thus a fusion of praxis and hyparxis. Hypraxis is the non-visible space between worlds. Within this corporate landscape, there are already subliminal messages of how to enter this space. To enter hypraxis, we must pummel ourselves at breakneck speeds into the blinding prism of now. Hypraxis is the diamond keyhole that will unlock us from this earthly prison. We must shape our bodies to be the key. Its borders are neither here nor there. It is the space of not thinking, of not fearing, of hurtling yourself full throttle into the embrace of death, only to come out feeling more alive. The main downfall of visual art and architecture now stems from its eternal struggle to build a bridge between earth and paradise, mortal and immortal, physical and metaphysical, while simultaneously building walls to contain that bridge. Hypraxis, however, laughs at us for ever believing these realms were separated in the first place. Hypraxis is a reconnection of the current perceived dislocation between time and space, and a joyful resurrection of the symbolic power of art and music by means of utopia. The word utopia, by Thomas More's definition, signifies no place. It is neither here nor there, of this world or transcendental to it. Its existence as a non-existence can be seen as a singularity, but within this no place exists an infinity of space. Thus, an invisible space between worlds is revealed that acts as a medium between the real and the ideal environments. This aspiration for a space within a pre-existing place is vital for distinguishing the utopian impulse from the transcendental one, whereas transcendentalism seeks an escape from the real world in exchange for an ideal one. Utopia, instead, seeks a deeper connection with this world in the form of tapping into its inner potential, a realization of the real. It is here that the musical environment lives. Sound, in and of itself, is a paragonal example of no place. It is pure vibration, a shifting of air particles, and is thus, by sheer virtue of its nature, wholly metaphysical. The internal visions, emotions, phosphenes, realizations, and auditory hallucinations that are spontaneously produced by the mind when engaged in deep listening tap into a holographic system of aesthetics that is beyond anything the visual world has a name for. We call this invisible network Xtreme Now, and its modus operandi hypraxis. In hypraxis, art and architecture, figure and ground, perceiver and perceived are all interwoven in a non-visible cartography of sonic utopia within our outer environments and within ourselves. It is the ultimate integrated art form, a vivisection of both outer and inner worlds that can be experienced anywhere, by anyone, at any time. A museum for the future that has always existed, accessed only through the audible diamond portal of now. Xtreme Now requires no physical structure beyond that of the human body, and no context beyond the space between our ears. Xtreme Now takes place largely within an unconscious architecture whose ontology depends on moment forming and integration, a Stockhausian phrase that describes music's facilitation of a moment in time that is neither here nor there, but an active space where inner and outer harmonics come together, each mutually resonating in the other, a portable and ephemeral utopia. Speed art and zombie aesthetics. Paul Laffoley spoke of an art that produces an immediate understanding and primal reaction upon first glance, or what he calls zombie aesthetics. Zombies don't think, they just react. His theory essentially was that we are moving towards an aesthetic phase geared towards zombie comprehension, the most simple, the most eye-catching. Our culture has already been evolving towards a more accelerated consciousness for quite some time. There's more information available now than ever before, and we're being forced to sift through it and process it faster. Our brains are evolving to be able to perceive everything more quickly. Knowledge, language, danger, and of course, beauty. If someone can determine whether or not they are attracted to someone else based on one image for the split second that it pops up on Tinder, imagine the evolutionary abilities we are developing to determine beauty in a wider artistic and cultural sense. Extreme sports has been operating on the same premise long before the internet. With the wonders of the natural world zooming past you at hyperspeed, there's no time to think, just have a pure, visceral reaction. In Xtreme Now, we worship the beauty of not thinking, made all the more accessible through speed. The more shocking, the more grotesque, the more sublime, the more instantaneously something hits you, the more beautiful it is. It is beautiful because there's no time for questioning it, no distraction, no critical analysis, just pure sensory experience. This harkens back to a time where there's a more primal understanding of beauty, a kind of pre-enlightenment beauty that was experienced purely and viscerally, untainted by the spectatorship of intellectualism. There is no here nor there. The sublime isn't about dreaming. It is about waking up. The body, the blood, and the Holy Spirit. In the Xtreme Now, art will cease to exist on walls and give itself over in the service of motion and speed. Redreaming Excalibur. Unicorn tapestry skate ramps. The blood. In the present day, museums and galleries have a ritual of serving wine or some other sort of alcoholic beverage at openings. Serving alcohol at openings does nothing but dull the senses and flatten the viewer's perception of the art. In the future of speed art, energy drinks will be served at art museums that heighten the awareness and sharpen the senses, creating a deflattened relationship between perceiver and that which is perceived. They will be made out of essences of the art itself. Xtreme Now energy, for example, is made from the essences of the medieval herbs featured in the unicorn tapestries. In this way, there is a direct exchange of energy between art and viewer. Energy is literally extracted from the perceived work of art, which is dead or static, and becomes part of the bloodstream of the perceiver, living, kinetic, where it is deflattened and alchemized into a prismic form of kinetic energy to fuel activities of extreme speed and awareness. This thus fulfills the prophecy of Unleash the Beast, advertising slogan of Monster Energy drink. As the mythical beast and spiritual Christ consciousness, symbolized by the unicorn, is liberated from its two-dimensional simulation of the Garden of Eden and free to course through the veins of the living, transforming their bodies into a veritable vehicle of paradise from the inside out. The Holy Spirit. In a short story called The Aleph by Jorge Luis Borges, he describes a fictional report of a certain stone column inside the Emir Mosque in Cairo that is fabled to contain the entire universe. Although this Aleph cannot be seen, those who put their ear up to the pillar say that they can hear it. In this sense, the Aleph is a non-visible sonic hologram. The architecture of Xtreme Now is supported by pillars such as this. Its support structure is not static, but ever-shifting, constantly being created, destroyed, and reformed by the people that engage and harmonize with it. A sonic prism of the past, present, and future that is in constant interplay with the ear that presses up against the column. In the Xtreme Now era, musicians replace art curators to curate sounds that produce the most effective hypraktic effects. The sounds thus create the invisible walls of the museum, the invisible context for art to happen. Each collection of sounds is not a piece of art in and of itself. Instead, each sonic collective offers itself as a context. Thus, anything that happens within that context is considered a work of art and a valid part of the ongoing aesthetic experience of Xtreme Now. If someone gets into a bar fight to one of the songs, that is art. If someone makes out to one of the songs, that is art. If someone makes love to one of the songs, that is art. If someone base jumps off a cliff to one of the songs, that is art. If someone folds laundry to one of the songs, that is art. All the world is a canvas, and the players become the artists themselves. Or in the words of George Brecht, music isn't just what you hear, it is everything that happens. Spiritual devouring. Practitioners of Xtreme Now will reverse the zombie cannibalism of postmodernism and instead practice a spiritual devouring of the physical structures of the world, rendering them sublime. Some examples of spiritual devouring are possession, transubstantiation, and mycelium. Possession. Xtreme Now can be experienced through possession. Most of us have experienced that moment when we feel lost in a piece of music and it takes control of our bodies. We lose our conscious motor abilities and feel ourselves syncopating our physical activities with the metaphysical time patterns of the song. Our feet move to the beat. Our breath becomes faster or slower. Our heartbeats align with the BPM. We become a vehicle for this invisible force to take over our bodies. This can happen on an emotional level as well. A well-crafted song can serve the same function as one of Yoko Ono's instruction paintings, unconsciously instructing us how to feel, or what to see, or how to act. On a deeper level, possession can occur spiritually. In trance music, for example, prolonged exposure to a certain drone, rhythm, or chant opens up a portal for the spirit world to enter and take over the physical body entirely, revealing visions and messages that were heretofore obscured. Transubstantiation. Transubstantiation is a spiritual devouring of the physical world. It is a subtle, sculptural process, alchemizing the material to the immaterial, the degraded into divine. When Christ supposedly took the piece of bread and claimed it was his body, the visible properties of the bread did not change, but the non-visible properties did. Our relationship towards the bread is totally transformed. Similarly, when a song is blasted through speakers, it can devour its surroundings and render them totally different, changing our relationship to the space entirely. To dance with it is to take part in its body and blood. mycelium. Another way Xtreme Now devours the physical realm is through mycelium. Mycelium refers to the vast, microscopic branching network of a fungal colony. We see traces of its visible growth, such as the fruiting bodies of mushrooms poking out from the soil, or a toadstool growing out from a rotting tree. But the most extensive part of the organism exists underground, sometimes stretching across hundreds of miles, unseen. An unstatic, ever-mutating intelligence network, mycelium reacts to various environmental conditions and other organisms, producing different growth forms or structures depending on the stimuli it perceives. The Speed Art Museum's organic structure can thus be likened to this subterranean noosphere, this vast, invisible network of collective consciousness that runs through the entirety of civilization, laying thought spores within the brain that go on to produce language, theories, social identities, architecture, and yes, visual art as its outgrowth. But whereas cultural institutions of the past are interested in celebrating the visible mushrooms of society, the Xtreme Now is interested in the non-visible network of spores that produce the fungal outgrowth as a form of art in and of itself. One example of music forming a mycelium network is through social identity construction, causing various individuals to form clusters or colonies based on certain sonic movements. Like punk, for example. When one listens to punk music and refers to themselves as a punk, they may take on the outer characteristics of the punk lifestyle. Dyed hair, body piercings, tattoos, dumpster diving, etc., thus rendering themselves a fruiting body of the network itself. This is a subtle sculptural process from the inside out, a decomposition of self that is devoured by the collective consciousness. Although the teleological outcome of this form of hypractic art is visible, its endoskeleton is wholly invisible, and the end product is merely a visible extension of the vast network of the museum. Xtreme Now thus becomes the invisible structure underpinning all physical outgrowth, encompassing the entirety of the seen world in its unseen network. Time travel within the Xtreme Now. Most people have misconceptions about time travel and think of it as an act that relies upon some sort of sci-fi technological force outside of ourselves, much like an H.G. Wellian machine, going backwards or forwards into the past or the future. In Xtreme Now, it is much simpler than that. Real time travel can occur spontaneously once you realize time is only an illusory record of events manifesting on a physical plane. This phenomena is accessible to anyone at any place or any moment. It is hard to describe exactly how, because by trying to explain it, it slips through the cracks of your fingers like grains of sand. The key to time travel lies somewhere inside the facets of the spinning, ever-unfolding prism of now. And by tapping into it, you can be anywhere, at any time, for it is the gel that underlies all time. picture time as a record, with all of history as the sound waves embedded in the grooves. The grooves are only as good as the needle that passes over them, and the sound waves are only as good as the pair of ears that hear them. Without a way to play a record, it is just pointless scribbles etched onto vinyl. Without a way to experience time through the lens of now, there is no method to even know whether or not it actually exists at all, or whether you are merely passing over the grooves of the world without actually seeing or hearing or living it. The needle is like the lightning flash of now, endlessly spiraling towards a timeless center, amplifying the song of the universe. The needle can be anything. A ski pole, a finger, a motorcycle tire, or the wheels of a skateboard. Like any good magician, time has its tricks to keep people believing in it. The biggest trick of them all is death. Time and death are seen as irrevocably linked to each other. To be afraid of death ensnares you to the realm of time. To trust and be unafraid of death liberates you from time and allows you to really travel in the truest, most ecstatic sense of the word. More than anything, extreme sports seem to offer themselves as a path to dislocate yourself from the fear of death, thus extracting yourself from the grips of time and all of its illusions. Here, a mummified mountain climber is found near the summit of Mount Everest. If you jump off of a cliff, seconds can feel like eternities. Your whole life might flash before you, somewhere in the distance, between the ledge and the earth's soil. Time becomes more fluid and elastic. With near-death experiences becoming a more common practice in the future, there will be less of a need for artist retrospectives as we know them. With the world being transformed into a giant speed art museum, the near-death experience will replace the retrospective, as the most vivid moments of one's life flashing before them at hyperspeed will be revered as the highest form of beauty. The deeper one's experience of life, the higher the peaks, the lower the valleys, the more beautiful the retrospective. This is a highly private look at retrospective, and much more personal and ephemeral. The poles of extreme. Fear causes a psychophysical response of holding the breath in and tensing up all the muscles, literally clinging to your body. Trust, on the other hand, requires a total detachment from the body, a letting go of the breath and a relaxing of the muscles, promoting elasticity. All poles are interconnected. Opposites are two sides of the same pole. You always have a choice which end you hold. A pole can simultaneously be a deadly weapon or a magic wand. The only thing standing between human and superhuman is fear. Disappearance. The dissolution of the visible world into the extreme now takes place as the ultimate form of aesthetic and hyperactive experience. This is the ultimate realization of the real, the realization that it was never real to begin with. All that remains is all that is. There is no separation between inner and outer experience. Only the hyperactive experience. The lines between creation and destruction, existence and non-existence, are blurred on a horizonless void. Even Xtreme Now disappears into the paradisical realm of no place, as the distinction between the visible world and the non-visible world ceases to be. In truth, it never existed in the first place. Only we choose to make it visible. What is matter but hypostatized spirit? What is flesh but calcified consciousness? What is architecture but frozen music? ultimate experience of the Xtreme Now is to make yourself and everything around you disappear all together so that you may see yourself in your environment and your environment in yourself as a never-ending holographic continuity, a song of existence. The wild time unseen, or the winter lightning, or the waterfall, or music heard so deeply that it is not heard at all. But you are the music, while the music lasts. Thank you. Tomorrow, energy drinks, and I'll be sending books over there with pieces of hair, so thank you.
Oh, it's okay. That's very good. Try to keep it strong when sure. My sister's got kids.
By not overcleaning, I don't use like anything stuff. I feel like it's
Yeah.
it's like pine oil and olive oil and stuff. So I think it's
I already feel like cleaning. It takes me